So, Preston, we are back for the end of the year, best shows and worst shows. And I have to say, I was thinking back on it now, and even you said this before we started recording. There's a lot of shows that came out. Like, you kept asking me, like, did this come out? Did this come out? Like, even other people kept asking me, like, wait a minute, that was this year? Like, yeah. Everybody and their mothers came out to play this year with, like, their top shows. Like, even, like...
I think it had to do with, COVID delay or something. Like, they're like, finally, we're going to release stuff. Finally, we're gonna start filming stuff and releasing stuff. You think that was it? That just everything came out in 2022?
It's just 2022 just did not fuck around with shows. Like, every streaming service's, like, flagship shows in, like, the past 5 years came out. Stranger Things on Netflix, Handmaid's Tale for Hulu, The Boys for Amazon, Game of Thrones came back with a prequel for HBO, Star Trek, of course, at NBC. Everybody, all the flagship networks and streaming services had their flagship franchise series come out to play. And, no, I don't think we're ever going to get another year like this, where it was just so packed with, like, powerhouse shows. Some good, some bad. So, let's talk.
That is true.
Do you want to talk about the worst or the best of this year?
I mean, so I didn't do a list of our worst. Maybe we should, but, there were some real stinkers. I think the stinker that we couldn't even finish because it was so bad was Picard.
I finished Picard actually.
Oh god.
Let me get my list here. So do you mind if I go into, like, my bad shows of 2022?
Sure. Let's hear your bad shows.
So I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it's really okay. So bad shows. All right, number 5. Really bad show, Westworld.
That was
final season. Wasn't that bad as the other ones on this list, but it was still just not that great compared to what came before. And the criticism I gave it is that Westworld season 4 is like that one guy at a party who says that one joke and everyone laughs, and he just keeps saying the same joke to try to get everyone to laugh again, even though he has no material.
Yeah. I mean, there were a few episodes in the middle that were okay. I don't think I would put it on my, like, worst list if I were to create one. But there were a few episodes in the middle that were okay. But it started out super boring and it ended really weak and convoluted. And it lost any of the luster that season 1 had. I think the worst criticism you can give to Westworld is that it was boring. It was just boring. Like, I felt like it was a chore to get through an episode, and that's not a good thing to have with a show, is to feel like it's a chore.
That's why it's my
Westworld
number 5.
Was supposed to be fun. Yeah. All right. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is once again slightly worse. Now that you said that, okay. Number 4 is Kenobi, because Kenobi just felt like a mess of, like let's be honest here. What Kenobi really should have been was Old Man Logan, the Logan movie from a couple years ago that was, like, supposed to be the nail in the coffin for
Sure.
the Legacy Fox X-Men stuff. Kenobi just felt messy. It went on a little too long than necessary. There were great scenes, but a lot of the characters I just didn't really care about that much. It's just... It felt like a fanfic.
It did feel like a fanfic. I think my worst criticism that I give to Kenobi is that it's forgettable.
Yes.
Like, I forgot what happened in the show. The things I kind of remember is that the few scenes that had Jimmy Smits in, where I was like, whoa, this is what a real actor is like, you know? and I was really impressed when, like, I think there was a scene with, like, Jimmy Smits and Ian McGregor, and I was like, whoa, 2 actors acting. This is really nice. And the rest of the show was just largely forgettable. Mm-hmm. I think they're in a cave at some point. You know, like, that's kind of what I remember. I don't know. It had nothing that really stuck in my mind. There was nothing, you know, the whole, like, we're going to cart out Darth Vader and cause you to cream your pants effect, like, just doesn't work anymore. So I don't know. Yeah, there was just nothing. There was nothing to it. There was no there. You know, there was no
That
there
episode
there.
at the ocean base was like very pointless, and you could have skipped it altogether. It just didn't make any.
Yeah,
It's kind of
true.
dumb.
Yeah. Okay. Number three.
My number 3, Book of Boba Fett. Once again, you get all these legacy characters. You bring them out. You take them off the shelf, and you do nothing with them. Once again, like, why the hell is Boba Fett a crime lord when he doesn't do any crime?
Yeah. Why is he a bounty? He's a bounty hunter, and he doesn't collect any bounties. That's it's not what we liked Boba Fett for. Boba Fett, is a villain, a mysterious villain who does ruthless things, and he didn't do any of those things. We had no mysterious villain. He didn't do anything ruthless. There was a lot of crammed in items that seemed like they were trying to sell toys. The plot just didn't make sense. It was a lot of wasted potential. Like considering what they could have done. I mean, had they had the whole season hanging out with the Tusken Raiders, that would have been awesome. Had they had a whole season of him trying to like escape from the Sarlacc pit, but each of those things, they like would come out with this good idea and then just fumble the ball every single time. And it was just not a cohesive story in the end. It was a big mess in retrospect. Yeah.
Just wasn't a fan of it.
Fett.
Wasn't a fan of it. It didn't even know what it wanted to be. Some of the times, it almost felt like there were too many cooks in the kitchen, just meddling with what the story should be, what the characters should be. Not to mention, the best part of the show does not even involve the titular character of the show, because the best part is the Mando stuff.
Yeah, a completely different show, like crammed in there. Yeah,
so
crazy.
That's number 3. Number 2 is Star Trek Picard Season 2. That was a mess of a show. It was boring. I just don't care. And quite frankly, I think Season 2 really fucks with the legacy of the character, because I watched an episode of TNG a while ago, and I'm like, this is a completely different character. Like, going back and forth. Red Letter Media is not kidding when they say Picard is really bad for the character, because it feels like a completely different person. And
right. I mean, I think you can approach Star Trek in two ways. You can either have interesting Alien of the Week sci-fi, just stories about the nature of humanity and exploring these different things, where you go to a planet and you learn more about the alien race is a reflection of today, and you explore these issues, or you've invented a world and you have fun, like having the characters play around in this world that you've created. They failed on both levels with like what makes Star Trek fun. Like they didn't explore any interesting themes, and when they did take these characters that we thought would be fun to interact, they just botched it.
Yeah.
Having them act completely differently than they should be acting, just having no logic from one scene to another on what people are doing. Like what is Q even doing? It just doesn't. Can you explain Q's motivation? No one can explain Q's motivation.
Well, that's the purpose of the character, is that he has this grand vision that we're too dumb to understand, because he's an immortal, godlike being. But even so, bringing Q out for one last hurrah and it being just kind of okay. Like, everything Q did was so incredibly unnecessary, because we already solved like the whole Q Picard dynamic at the end of TNG. Like, you didn't have to revisit this. For like that I will say that final moment at the end of season 2 where they hug it out and, Q's about to go for the last time. Very nice, very tender moment. But at the same time, you didn't need...
It's for the the thing is, that makes sense to the audience, but it doesn't really make sense to the characters.
Yeah.
Like, yes, we're the audience saying goodbye to Q, and so we're sniffling. But like, it doesn't make sense to those characters. Oh well.
If anything, it ruins
what a mess. I can't... Yeah, the legacy of everything. Mm-hmm. And they get so much lore wrong. So much lore obviously wrong. Where it's just like...
The Guinan stuff.
The Guinan stuff, like, everyone's seen Time's Arrow. Like, you can't just, like, throw Guinan on Earth and not address, like, the fucking Mark Twain episode of... Anyway, now you're just making me angry. I'm surprised Picard is number 2. What could possibly be worse? than Picard.
What my number one pick of the worst show of 2022, it may not have any resonance to you because you probably didn't play this video game growing up, but Halo, it was a huge part of my childhood. It's still now. And I think Halo is the perfect example of what's happening with adaptations in the last 5 years. It's just people who are given a job and they don't care. And this is something I say to Witcher as well.
But video game adaptations rarely are ever any good.
True. That's because no one ever sticks to the fucking source material. You know what's the best video game adaptation ever of all time is? Mortal Kombat, the first one from 94 or 95.
Yeah, it was a fun movie. As cheesy as it was, it's a fun movie.
It's just the game. It's just the tournament.
It is just the game.
That's
You're
it.
Right. It's about as shallow as the game is, and that works. That's the advantage of the movie.
But you know what's funny about that is that we've never really had, to my knowledge, a video game television adaptation. It's always been movies, and you can't really adapt a story of a game in like 1 hour and 30-minute movie. Here they had
there was a Mortal Kombat series for a while, but it doesn't really count.
We don't talk about that one. They didn't adapt anything. They just kind of did their own thing. They just took the characters and did their own thing, which is kind of what they did with Halo here. Everything that made Halo is just not in here. For example, Master Chief is basically Mando. You know how Mando never takes off the helmet or the armor? Mm-hmm. Master Chief is always taking off his fucking helmet. No, that's the first red flag right there. And like I was saying earlier, it's just you have people who are not fans of the source material coming in to just do this thing, and they're just doing a job. And this harkens back to what Dave and Dan did. Dave and Dan, I believe, brought Ice and Fire to HBO. And they're like, we got to adapt this. This is going to be great. They were fans of the source material. It's a shame what happened in the last couple of seasons, but they were fans of the source material. They spoke to George R. R. Martin, and you saw like the love they have for the show in the first several seasons. Here, same with Witcher, it's just people doing a job. They were given this thing to adapt, and they thought they could make it better by including their own things and doing things differently. And it didn't work out. Halo is bad if you're a fan of Halo and you watch the show. There are obviously every adaptation has that one good thing about it. I can't find one good thing about Halo. Witcher, there are things that are great about it. Some of the casting was good.
So you're saying the Halo series is as different from the video game as the Super Mario Brothers movie is from the Super Mario Brothers video game?
Yes, 110%. Oh my god, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I always think it's very funny when adaptations are very different, because I kind of view it like covering a song. You can either like do the like tribute band where you're trying to be faithful and replay that song like they would, or you're going to take a new spin on it, but that spin better be good. You better do a cover, and that cover better add something and be interesting and like be better. You don't cover a song if you're going to butcher it, that's the thing of these adaptations. Like you're hoping to pull people in with the IP, but unless it's either really, really good, which it wasn't going to be, or it's faithful, people are going to hate it. So you got to hit one of the two.
Mm-hmm. What it comes down to, and it's the same thing with The Witcher and the same thing with Rings of Power. Well, maybe not Rings of Power, but definitely with Halo. It's people who had their own ideas for their own shows, but they weren't trusted enough with the budget to make their own IPs, their own shows, but they were given this, and they're like, you know what? I can input some of my own ideas and show the networks why they would have worked in the first place. It doesn't work. So Halo is my pick for the worst show of 2022, simply because it's nothing like the source material. Everything they tried to doing differently in going their own direction was bad, and just the characters don't make any sense. It's just, the story was awful. Just no. Halo is my pick for the worst show. Do you have one? Like a worst show you could think of that you did not like?
I mean, if I'm picking it off the top of my head, I would say it would be Picard. Just because it was so bad, I just couldn't even finish it. I'm trying to think of another one where I started watching it. I'm just like, no, this is no good. But
any show that you started watching that you thought that we most likely did not cover. So
Yeah, I mean, I watched some like pretty bad, like trashy Netflix shows with my wife.
Hmm.
Like, I'm not sure if those really count. Like, I didn't think, like, I watched Bling Empire at season 2. That was really bad.
The hell's that? Blink? I've never heard of that before.
It's supposed to follow around these like really rich Asian Americans, but it's like half fake. You know how they're like creating conflicts that like are fault, like don't exist, and there wasn't really an arc for the season like there was for the first season and things like that. Like, so like even if the stories are fake or semi fake, like they couldn't even like cohesively put them together into any sort of story. I'm trying to think of anything else.
Oh,
that
wait,
was just,
so
like, super bad.
So what? Because it's funny you say that because the first season,
It's like a reality show, yeah.
well, the first season got a 90% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So the first season's supposed to be very good.
Bling Empire season 1 had some interesting moments. It had some interesting moments, and then season 2 is just like they didn't know what to do with these people. So they were just like inventing stuff. Like, there were 2 characters that were like pretending to be in a relationship or try to start a relationship, and it was very clear that the two characters weren't really into each other. So it's just like manufactured stuff. Like, this one dude wants to date another woman, and she's like, "Well, I have trust issues, so you need to take a polygraph test." And you're like, "What? They haven't even been on like a date. Like, no one would do that." And then they take the polygraph, like, just like invented stuff. Like, no, that would never happen. Like, just stop. So they have this whole episode of them going to take a polygraph test together, and it's just like, come on. It's just stupid stuff. But well, like, first season there was some like real stuff on there. There was a woman who like was dating this guy forever and had a kid with him, and like was waiting for him to propose, and then at the end she proposes to him because he just won't propose, and he says yes, and it like felt like I think it was a real story, and it felt like a real story. So I don't know, just lame stuff like that. So I'm trying to think of just like absolute worst trash where I can't think of anything like really bad other than Picard, where I'm just like, oh my god. Because I guess if it were bad, I would just stop watching, But like, Picard, you feel obligated.
I'm one of those assholes where, and this is how I was with Jessica Jones season 2, which I thought was absolutely awful. My mentality is I'll continue on because it can't get any worse. Hopefully, like, it just goes like there has to be a point where it just like gets better. And it never does. Nothing ever does when it comes to shows like these. It always just goes downhill even further, which is insane. But I'm sure, like, you'll probably think of something like the moment we stop recording, and we'll talk about it.
Yes,
we'll talk about it in the stream.
There was another show, and I don't even want to say it was that bad. I watched. There's this one comedy sci-fi show on HBO called, I think, Avenue 6, and I watched the second season for that. Avenue 5, I'm sorry. And like, it didn't have the same magic as the first season, which, was okay, but it wasn't horrible. It just wasn't horrible writing, but it just wasn't the same. I don't know, stuff that like just wouldn't make my list of like being great. It's like what Ms. Marvel was this year. I wouldn't say it was bad, but like, like it wouldn't make my top 10 list of good shows. Like, it was just very convoluted and all over the place. That's about it.
Okay. So do you want to get to like the best shows of 2022 in our opinions?
Let's get to our best. Now, you only have a top 5, I have a top 10. So let me go through my 10 to 6. Sure. And then we'll get to yours. So, my number 10 of the 10th best thing I saw this year of a 2022 show, I put She-Hulk. I thought She-Hulk Attorney at Law was a really solidly funny show. The lead is incredibly likable, really charismatic actor. It was so much fun to watch. I looked forward to the next episode. The episodes blew by. I mean, they're only 30 minutes, but like when I think of a show where I just like, I laughed a lot, it was, it's not to be taken seriously. This isn't like serious Marvel stuff. It's funny Marvel stuff. I was a fan of the comic book. So I actually read Sensational She-Hulk when I was young, so it was like I'm a little biased, but I thought it really captured the magic of the She-Hulk comic, and I looked forward to it every week. It was a lot of fun. I had a lot of laughs. So I thought She-Hulk Attorney at Law was, I put that as number 10.
Nice. Okay.
Number 9, Raised by Wolves, season 2. Raised by Wolves is just like, I've never seen a show where you're onslaughted with such creativity and soap opera mentality of characters, and stuff is just going crazy. All the characters are dialed up to 11, plus the sci-fi elements are dialed up to 11, and the philosophy and head-scratching stuff is dialed up to 11. It was a show that was so extreme in every way. And I'm not saying it wasn't a mess. This is why it's not like the perfect show or anything, but like there was no show like Raised by Wolves. And I really appreciate Ridley Scott and all of the writers for what they did in inventing an incredibly cool universe. I'm so sad that it was canceled. I wanted to see where these characters were going. I wanted to see what was going to happen next. I'm really disappointed that there won't be a season 3 for such an imaginative, crazy, bonkers show like Raised by Wolves. So that's my number 9.
Okay.
My number 8 is Dairy Girls season 3. Dairy Girls is just a solidly funny, interesting show. Where again, I looked forward to episodes every week. I liked all of the characters. They were so fun to see them interact. It's just, I feel almost sad that the show has ended and that I have to say goodbye to all of these characters that I got to really like, and it's like, I'm sure I'm going to see all these actors and actresses like later on because the show like was incredibly successful. But it was just a really good show, a really solid, funny, show, and it's I'm not saying it was the best thing ever or revolutionary. It was just a really funny, great show. And so that's number 8.
Dairy Girls. What channel is that on? What service?
That's Netflix.
Oh, Netflix. Okay.
Netflix. Yeah. Dairy Girls. Derry for dairy in Northern Ireland. Yeah. So my number 7 show is Moon Knight. Yeah, I thought Moon Knight was very creative. I thought it was well acted. I'm not saying it was a perfect plot, but it was, again, one of those shows that I couldn't wait to see. Some of the episodes I've never seen in Western media, the Middle East, and specifically Cairo, portrayed the way it was somewhat accurately. I loved the Oscar Isaac's performance.
He's the GOAT.
He is the GOAT. And Ethan Hawke. Ethan Hawke was one of the most interesting new takes on a villain that I've seen in a long time. Where he's not really evil, but he's still creepy, but you can somewhat understand him. Like he's not the classic villain Ramsey type, but he's also not the relatable Killmonger type where he has a point. He's in this other category, and it was a villain. It was a type of villain I'd never seen before. Again, not a perfect show, but there was a lot of creative ideas, a lot of fun to be had, some really interesting direction, and some really great music. And that came from using Egyptian directors for some of the episodes. So it was really, really, really good stuff. My number 6, and you're gonna murder me for this.
Uh-oh.
My number 6 is House of the Dragon.
Wow. Number 6 slot. Wow. Okay. No, hey, I'm not going to murder you, but the audience might get on your case about that.
Yeah, House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon is a mess, but it is also so ambitious and pushes the limits to television in ways that no other show has ever done, or, and the fact that they have the first episode be a cesarean, the fact that they show Rhaenyra, giving birth and having a slimy, like, newborn, stillborn, child come out. That kind of stuff, just hasn't been done on screen, and the show pushes the limits. It pushes the limits so much on making the audience uncomfortable and making the audience connect and relate to characters. It's I mean, so as much as, like, and again, like, we know this show better than any of the others because we've watched these episodes over and over. Like, it's such an improvement on the source material. There's some really good choices made, some perfect acting from everybody. But of course, like, it doesn't crack my top 5 because they make a lot of mistakes. They take a lot of risks and they land a lot of things, but they also faceplant a lot. And the other shows on higher on the list, the reason that they're so high is they stick their landings. They perhaps aren't as risky as House of the Dragon, but they also don't fuck up as much as House of the Dragon. You're not having dragons bust through the floor, killing hundreds of people for no reason. Like, it's just, you're not just having somebody beaten to death on camera and then no one address it. Like, that kind of stuff just isn't happening. And so that's why. Okay. So that's my 10 through 6.
Okay.
Do you want to tell me your number 5?
My number 5, let me bring up my list here real quick. My number 5 is a little-known show with Josh Brolin. And it's on Amazon, actually. It's called The Outer Range. Let me see if I can bring this up real quick.
Oh, yeah. I've seen the ads for that. I have not watched it. Yeah.
Outer Range was very well acted. I really liked it. Basically, for those of you who don't know, it's essentially a show about Josh Brolin, and he plays this man, Royal Abbott, who owns a ranch, I believe in Utah. Let me make sure it's Utah. And I'm sorry, not Utah, Wyoming. And the synopsis here is, he discovers a mysterious black void in the pasture after the arrival of autumn. And there's a woman who comes into town, and she has connection with this whole situation. And, it's very well acted, great premise. I don't know, it's just something about the show that really, like, kept me excited every week. And Josh Brolin, once again, he's the GOAT. There's also, if you watch the show, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's also one of the grossest kissing scenes I've ever seen.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty over the top. I kind of want to show you real quick. Unless you want to watch it, the show. But I highly
no. I mean, if you recommended it, you say it's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon. Yes, it's a science fiction neo-western, and Josh Brolin is the main guy. And a really great acting all around. Fun premise, and I may check it out. It's the other premise of the show is it reminded me a lot of the I don't want to say the Capulets and the Montagues or whatever, but what's the American family? The two families that did Moonshine. They're out of West
Hatfield and the McCoys.
There's a lot of Hatfields and McCoys going on here as well with the main character's family and this other family. But no, it's super fun. I really enjoyed it. Shout out to my boy Bear for the recommendation, and Outer Range on Amazon.
Outer Range. My number 5 is Russian Doll Season 2. Russian Doll Season 1 was head and shoulders my favorite show of 2019. Russian Doll Season 1 is perfection. It is such a good show. Russian Doll Season 2 not nearly as good. Not nearly in this. It's not in the same universe as Russian Doll season 1. However, it's still pretty good. It's still very creative. It's still very interesting. It's still it approaches characterization and emotion and where people are better than anything else. Like no other show goes this deep into people's heads and really thinks about like who they are and where they come from and their relationship to their parents and their friends and themselves and it's it's also a pretty fun show. It's also a pretty fun show on top of all that. So I really recommend Russian Doll. Season 1 is great, but season 2 is still pretty good. That's on Netflix. But big fan of that.
See, that's what surprises me about Russian Doll, because you've given it high praise before, and I have to download it. But Netflix, it's on Netflix. Just has like bad shows, but every once in a while they'll come out with a banger. So you're saying this is one of those bangers?
Oh yeah. It's I'm trying to think. Like it's hard to even explain it. It's like nothing you've ever seen. Like no other show approaches. I mean, there's elements of things that you're going to see in other stuff, but then they always like other science fiction and fantasy. But they're going to they turn everything on its head, and just the acting by Natasha Lyonne, which is she's the lead and she carries the show. The whole show is on her shoulders. She has to. It's basically her carrying the whole thing, but it's good. There's a lot of emotional moments getting into this fucked up character's head. But yeah, definitely watch season 1, but season 2 is still pretty good.
I actually like this actress, Natasha Lyonne. She was she played one of the leads, Nikki Nichols, in Orange is the New Black, also on Netflix. And no, she was great in that.
Yeah, so. Most people know her from American Pie.
Was she in American Pie? Who was she?
She was the other girl. You know how there was like two in the original American Pie. There's the boys, but then there was like two girls.
Oh,
there was
she's Jessica.
Rookie of the There's Rookie of the Year's girlfriend, and then there's Rookie of the Year's girlfriend's friend. Well, I mean, Rookie of the Year's girlfriend was Tara. What's her face? What's her? She had her own show. Fuck it. Whatever. Don't care. Let's move on. Sharknado. She's in Sharknado.
I know who you're talking about. She was also Zach Braff's girlfriend in the Scrubs. I forgot her fucking name too.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know I see her. Wow. Okay. Small world. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so you're number 4.
My number 4, I'm going to give it to, and I know people are going to get upset with this, but it's Better Call Saul Season 6 Part 1, not Part 2, and I'll tell you why. Did you watch Better Call Saul, by the way?
No, but I think it's hilarious that you're, like, specifically saying, like, just this part, not the other part.
So they split season 6 into 2 parts. I believe season 6 has 6 or 7 episodes, something like that. Season 6 part 1 is awesome. It's great. It ends beautifully. And then season 6 part 2, the first 2 episodes are awesome. But, spoiler alert, I personally think the show dies when Lalo dies. Lalo is probably one of the best villains we've gotten in a long time on TV. It's just such a great villain. Believe it or not, Lalo, the actor, I believe his name is Tony Dalton. He's actually in what's Hawkeye's protege? Fuck, forgot her name. Hawkeye girl.
Are you talking about Kate Bishop?
Kate Bishop. Tony Dalton plays Kate Bishop's mom's boyfriend, who we thought was like the real killer, but he wasn't. He was just goofy.
Oh right, yeah, the swordsman.
Yeah, he's Lalo in Better Call Saul. He's great. I love him. But the moment he dies, that show ends for me, and it focuses on Saul, and it's all in black and white, and whatever. Don't give a fuck.
Yeah, because there's also that split timeline wise, right? That one's all the way
where he's Gene, but no. Season 6 part 1, great. Everything about it was fucking
Yeah.
phenomenal, and this is how a prequel should be done. This is what I was waiting for the entire time, and it delivered. So that's my number 4.
My number 4 is The Boys season 3.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah. Now I think that the Boys is kind of finally coming to its own in understanding that, adding actual like theme and substance to its message behind the scenes. I think season 1 was mostly about shock, and now they're trying to find their message, and I think they're getting there. I don't think it's perfectly cohesive, but I think they're getting there. It's a very fun romp, The Boys. And I think that the Soldier Boy plot just was executed really, really well. I think Soldier Boy himself is a great character. And to perfectly execute the ending where it's a surprise, but it actually fits better than what you were expecting. Like, that's a very difficult thing to pull off. And they pulled it off. They pulled off the ironic ending with Soldier Boy really well. Now, I'm not saying that like I always have to, say like not everything is perfect. Like, what were they doing with Starlight and all these kind of stuff that was just kind of crammed in that felt extraneous. But like, just on the sense that Soldier Boy is such a great villain, such a great character, and that they landed that by itself. I rank The Boys as pretty high. It's just one of those shows where, like, man, you gotta see the next episode. You gotta see where they're going, So, yeah.
It's funny. Like
your
my number 3 is actually The Boys season 3. I really like this season, and what's funny about this show is that like every single time, just when I don't think they can go the extra mile with how fucking insane and crazy things get and how gross things get, then you have a man going inside another man's penis and then expanding and exploding this guy, and then poor Mother's Milk getting huge amounts of jizz all over him at the orgy party. It's just fuck, man. Just fuck. Holy shit, this goddamn show is. And then Head Popper and just so much. Oh my fucking god. And I love it. Such a great show. People really should be watching this show. It's so good. The extra irony is about how a lot of the fans of the show think like there's the irony of the show is that a lot of the fans of the show don't understand and know that The Boys is making fun of them. It's kind of like how with Rick and Morty, like a lot of the viewers think they're Rick, but they're really Jerry, So
oh yeah, absolutely.
But no, my number 3 is The Boys for basically the same reason you said.
Yeah, it definitely has its flaws, but like, we're not in the top, the real top yet. But like, I appreciate that The Boys is getting better and better each season. Mm-hmm. And I'm really saying is that they're it's becoming more political, and it's finding its message, which is something that the comic never really had in the first season. Even though the first season is great, it didn't quite know what it was yet, and I think it's getting to know. So my number 3 is His Dark Materials season 3.
I didn't know you were watching this. You told me about this a while ago. I didn't know you were watching His Dark Materials.
It just came out. They just dumped the whole season, like pretty much at once.
This is HBO, right?
Yeah, it's HBO. Almost very quietly.
They never do that.
Because HBO's just being fucking weird, It's like they quietly dropped Westworld too. They're just like, this show is dead to us. Let's have it come out and not promote it at all. So His Dark Materials season 3. It's amazing how well they've adapted this crazy out there book that has a plot that grows and grows and grows with each book, and each season's plot grows, and the acting gets better. like season 3 is better than season 2, and season 2 is better than season 1 of his Dark Materials. Like his season one of his Dark Materials I was kind of iffy on, and then season 2 comes out and I'm like, oh, all of a sudden these kids know how to act, and it's and the CGI is great, and it's a really interesting show, and I didn't even read the books. My wife did, but
how'd she like it?
You know, I'm able to follow. Well, she said she's forgotten a lot of it because she read the books like in early high school.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, she does think that you know, the characters are aged up a little bit, but she thinks it's really well done. I think she agrees with me on like that it's getting better, and the acting's quite good, and it's quite impressive that they're juggling all of these huge plots. I mean, keep in mind that, like, I don't know if you know the plot at all, Carmine, but like without spoiling things, like it has to do with the fact that like it's parallel universes, and in one of the universes, people's souls manifest as animals that follow them around, and that connection is kept together by dust, which is dark matter. And yet in every universe, there are religious organizations that think that dust is sin and want to destroy it. And that dust relates to free will. And dust is like the creation of our consciousness. And therefore, if they get rid of the dust, people won't have free will and they'll be more obedient to religious law. Like it's insane, like how large and philosophical and creative the story is, and that they've pulled it off, like that they've put it to screen, you know, with 8 episode seasons, like, and it's just, yeah, no, it's really well done.
I might have to check this out because, like, yeah, that sounds awesome. But
yeah, it's yeah. The lead is the girl who played Little Wolverine in Logan. She's the lead. And she does a great job. She does a great job.
I'll have to check this out. You really browse HBO's catalog, like, because you've mentioned multiple times like all these shows on HBO. I'm like, that's on HBO? What? I don't. Yeah, I keep forgetting that his Dark Materials is like an HBO thing. And you're right. I didn't see any promotion for it. Even for Westworld, I saw some promotion for it, but for his Dark Materials, I saw nothing. No one really talked about it.
It was really like it was just in the back of my mind. I was like, whatever happened to his Dark Materials? And then I like looked on and I was like, what? They just dropped like the whole season in the month of December? Like, oh my gosh. So yeah, that's my number 3.
I'll have to check it out.
What's your number 2?
My number 2, to no one's surprise, is Andor. Andor, the best Star Wars show that totally does not feel like a Star Wars show. The best Star Wars show that we've gotten ever, and we may ever get, because yeah, it's what's great about Star Wars Andor, and we've discussed it ad nauseum as to why it's so good, is that it doesn't feel like a Star Wars show. Every bullshit trope we've ever seen in Star Wars that makes us roll our eyes, it's not in here. You know, the mass killing of stormtroopers that you hated from Mando, it's not in here. Just characters with actual motivations and purposes, it's not in here. People who feel real, it's not. I'm sorry. For characters with actual motivation purposes, it's in here. People who feel real, it's in here. The funny thing is, even though I say it's not like a Star Wars property, it's at the same time the most Star Wars of anything, because what's most Star Wars than like explaining these tiny little things that no one cared about from the original movies in like books and games and shit? That's what it does. You know, where did the rebellion come from? How did they get all the money for this stuff? It's right here. Who's Mon Mothma? There it is. Like, why is the Empire so bad? Like, well, here it is. They're not just destroying planets, they're taking away people's freedoms and like being incredibly oppressive.
To be fair, they're explaining the big things rather than the little things.
That too.
Right?
That too.
Like, that's the thing. It's like Solo was like, where did Han Solo get his blaster from? Who cares? But this is actually asking the big questions. How'd the rebellion actually get their money? You know, how did, you know, like, why do people hate the Empire? Like, these are, you know, those are actually like much more important questions to explain.
See, you say they're big questions. I say they're little questions, because who really cares about that when you're watching Star Wars? All you want to see is lightsaber go brr. That's really all people are there for, and that's fine. That's fair. You know, you want to be entertained. That's cool. But, you know, nerds like me who spend hours upon hours late at night looking up on Wikipedia as to why, you know, this lightsaber looks the way it is and the fighting styles of Jedi. This is cool. This is like my jam. This is what I really like. And, no, Andor. It also has one of the best speeches ever given by a character in television. Luthen's speech that he gives to that one guy from the ISB in the lower levels.
Yes.
Where he's like, you know, it's a freedom it's a fight for a freedom that I'll never live to see. And God, it's just Andor. Phenomenal. Love it. Love it. Even with all the screws and the bricks that take people out of it, I still think it's great. Still think it's great.
My number 2 is Peacemaker.
Okay.
Peacemaker, and keep in mind that, like, going into Peacemaker, I'm no John Cena fan. Like, I don't like care about wrestler actors. Okay, fuck The Rock, fuck John Cena. Like, fuck Dave Bautista. I don't give a fuck. Okay, I don't give a fuck about your bodybuilder actor like crossover. Okay, like that's not my thing. And when I watched Suicide Squad, the redo, the James Gunn remake movie, you know, when they brought him back, I was like, he was the least interesting character in the entire movie. That entire movie of Suicide Squad had so many fucking fantastic characters, and Peacemaker was the most boring one. And so I really didn't expect much, and Peacemaker just blew me away. Just the fact that, like, the opening theme and the dance is there, but just like from that moment on, I was just like, what? And you are pulled in, and it never stops. It's such a funny show. It's such an irreverent, crazy show. It's got a super imaginative, cool plot. It's got great characters who are all likable and wonderful. Even the villains you love. It's just, it was just a fun ride from beginning to end, and it just goes to show, like, it just shows me, like, what a genius James Gunn was. The dialogue is funny, the characters are great, it's paced well, it's beautiful, it's sad, it is not scared to just kill random people, like, really, like, people that you totally did not expect to die, just freaking die all of a sudden. It was I can't recommend Peacemaker enough. It was a really, really well done show.
I heard nothing but good things about Peacemaker, and the fact that James Gunn is behind it. Because have you seen the latest James Gunn hate going around on Twitter?
No! What did he do this time?
Oh, he didn't rehire. He's throwing out most of the DCU.
Right, yeah, because he did Henry Cavill kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, he's throwing away most of the stuff. I think he may be keeping Shazam, maybe, but no, he's throwing most of it away and, like, redoing everything. And I kind of get
But people like Aquaman.
People like Aquaman. People like Ezra Miller's Flash. People wanted to see the Batgirl stuff. I did. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what he comes up with. But I keep forgetting that he did Peacemaker. And I keep hearing nothing but good things.
Oh, it's a really great show. It's a really great show. What's your number 1?
So before number 1, I do want to give honorable mentions of shows. Honestly, these probably should have been like my 10 through 6. But these are really good shows that came out that I really liked this year. Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. Love it. This is what Star Trek should have been back a couple of years ago. Discovery, I'm just really bored by Star Trek Discovery. There's nothing in it that I like. But Strange New Worlds, great. This is what Trek should have been in the new era. They do everything that they do in TNG. It's the original Enterprise crew before Kirk and Spock. But Spock is in it. I love that. Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, highly recommended if you're an old school Star Trek fan. Moon Knight is also in there. Honorable mention for Moon Knight. And Rick and Morty, I thought this season is better than the last one. A lot of fun moments. For anime, Chainsaw Man was pretty good. Definitely recommend Chainsaw Man. And I'm going to say Moon Knight. And Raised by Wolves, I really liked as well. Raised by Wolves was awesome. Phil recommended me something last stream that we did. A show called From. Good premise. If it's basically a combination of The Mist, and a bit of Lost, like he said, and a little bit of Silent Hill sprinkled in. So I recommend that to anybody who can find it. It's on Epix, whatever the fuck that is. I pirated it, of course. I couldn't find Epix. 10 episodes, really good show. From. But no, those are my honorable mentions. As for my number one is, once again, to the surprise of no one, The Orville, Season 3. I really love this series. It's probably my favorite series of the last 5 years. It's so fun. It's so good. Very well written. It has a lot of heart. I just can't get over how good this show is. And I kick myself for not getting on it. It's the show with Seth MacFarlane. It's essentially a Star Trek ripoff, but it becomes its own thing. It's so much more than Star Trek. It's really what Star Trek should have been. And I know people don't give the show enough credit because it's Seth MacFarlane. He's the Family guy, and he knows that himself. So that's why in the first season there's a bit more comedy than there should be. But as the seasons goes on, it gets better, and the comedy goes down quite a bit. And by season 3, there's some comedy in there, but not as much as it was in season 1. And I also give him props for this as well, because in season 1, it's kind of about him, but as season 2 and season 3 come, he becomes kind of a side character. He's still the captain of the ship, but it's more about his crew and all these interpersonal relationships, and it's just a phenomenal show. I'm in love with this show. It's great. I hope they do a season 4, but season 3 of The Orville was fucking phenomenal. I definitely recommend this to everybody if you're into sci-fi and all that stuff. Very good writing. Very good acting.
I've heard it. I've heard it's usurped Star Trek as being more Star Trek than Star Trek.
Yep. It's phenomenal. Yeah. It's great. 10 out of 10 for me. Orville season 3.
Okay. All right. And no House of the Dragon on your list.
Oh fuck! House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon is my number 6. It's my number 6. That's
mine was number 6. Yeah.
I'll put it number 6. Sorry.
That's what I was when you didn't name it and you're counting down to number 1. I was like, oh, is this number 1 gonna be? And I was like, no. Oh, it's Orville.
Yeah.
I don't think my number 1 is gonna be a surprise either. My number 1 is Andor.
Nice. Yeah.
Andor's it's a show none of us deserved. It's a show that surprised everybody. It was just perfection. So well acted. Such great plots.
Oh, by the way, real quick on Andor. I don't know if you noticed this. Yeah. You know when the intro of Andor comes, it's it shows the planet and then the title and all that? You know the song?
Yeah.
That comes that brief
apparently
melody?
You have to piece it together or something.
Yep.
The song from the different things. Yeah.
If you piece it all together, it's that theme of rebellion at the very end when everybody comes together and does the theme in the streets. Really cool. Very cool.
And Andor it's a show that it just surprises me that it exists in this time and age. In this time and age of complete commercial selling out, where everything is about cramming in a toy or cramming in the next series or playing fan service to this or that, that in this completely unexpected place we would get this incredible drama that if it weren't Star Wars, I would think it was a great show. I'd be like, this is incredible. What an incredible show this is. And then it just happens to be Star Wars. Just wonderful acting, wonderful costumes and setting and pacing, the little mini story structure of having every three episodes be a different world was just great. And it just the pacing felt like The Wire, where you just kind of like you're going along and you're so absorbed, and then an episode's over and you're like, what? Give me the next one. Give me the next one. I can't recommend Andor enough. I expected it to be completely forgettable crap, and I was wrong. It was the best show of the year.
We made fun of it when a couple of years ago, when Star Wars and Disney put out like what's coming in the next couple of years. This is, I think, what, 2020, 2021, or 2019. We were like, Andor, like the one character from Rogue One, like who, why,
right.
And it,
like who cares? Who cares?
Came out of nowhere.
And this is the thing is like. It doesn't even matter. Like I realize kind of it doesn't matter your premise and your actors and all of this background. Like it doesn't necessarily even matter. Like if you have good writing and good characters and good acting, like you can do anything, you know? And that's what Andor did. It took this plot that no one wanted to hear about with characters that no one wanted to hear about, and it just executed it with great storytelling and great writing and great acting and great direction.
That's so true about like the characters. Like Mon Mothma, who fucking Forrest Whitaker's character, whose name escapes me. Who the fuck bring them back?
Who fucking cares? Yeah. So that's my number one best show of the year, Andor.
Yeah, no,
I would almost say Andor. I would even go far to say Head and Shoulders the best show of the year. Yeah.
Fair. Andor, very good. A lot of memorable characters, a lot of side memorable characters that make an impact on the story overall. Andy Serkis's character.
Andy Serkis is, oh my god, what a great
Luthen. Oh, Jesus. Dedra Miro, weirdo stalker guy, whose name escapes me. And his sidekick, they're essentially Abbott and Costello, which I fucking love. But his Scottish sidekick, like a lot of great memorable characters. Holy shit!
Oh, just little things. You can take it like a minor bit character, like Mon Mothma's husband, and you're just like, he's got like the right level of sleaze, you know? Like there's just so many little little characters where you're like, oh, he's so perfect, you know? Oh man, you know? So. I can't wait for Andor season 2. When's it coming out?
Probably 2024. And honestly, this is one of those things where I'm completely okay waiting for them to get it just right, because this is one of those things that they got to get just right.
You do not want,
But no, 2022 was a great year for a lot of good shows. Unfortunately, another year for some bad ones as well. For those of you wondering why I didn't put Witcher Blood Origins, which is getting destroyed by everybody, even critics. Why I didn't put that on my worst list of 2022. I've only saw the first 2 episodes and I had to stop because it's just, I don't care. It's so boring. It's so lame. I don't care. So I don't even want to include that in there because
it's like blood. It's Blood Rain bad, right?
Is
it Blood Rain bad? It's not that bad.
No, it's not that bad. But it's still just... I feel bad for Michelle Yeoh, because she was probably one of the best movies this year. I always get the name of this thing wrong. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? The one with the parallel universes?
Yeah. Everywhere, everything, all the time.
You watched that, right?
I have not seen it yet.
No, oh, dude, that show is up your alley. That's like your... I'm sorry, not show. That movie is up your alley. That's your movie right there. I'm sure if you saw that, you'd say that'd be your favorite movie of 2022. I liked... The Northman, I thought that one was awesome. But
by the way, I said the name of the movie completely wrong.
Everyone does.
Everything everywhere.
What?
Everything everywhere all at once. Yes.
Yes, everything everywhere. Yes, that's what it is. And it's really good film. Very good film. Definitely recommend that to everybody. And I feel bad for her because this is where she really shines. And then you see her in Blood Origins, you're like, you know what? That's okay. Get that bag, sweetie. Get that, buy that house, buy that yacht, do what you need to. Get that bag. I don't blame you at all. But no, that's a good film as well. Wow, it has 95% based on 350 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. Damn, everybody liked that shit. God damn. I'm gonna check out Russian Doll actually, just because you keep hyping that one up. You didn't put Barry on this list of your favorites?
I can't. I forgot that Barry came out in 2022.
Really, Barry? Come on! I thought you liked Barry.
No, look, I do like Barry. The I do like Barry, and I like Barry. Oh, man, now we can just talk about Barry for a second, because like, okay, so Barry season 1 was really fun, and then they went on this direction in Barry season 2 where Barry became kind of the guy you're rooting for. And it becomes even kind of more fun following Barry around. And then I think the showrunners, including the guy who plays Barry, who's the executive producer, Bill Hader, realized that like, no, Barry's not the hero, he's the villain. Okay. And so season 3, he really emphasizes that Barry is not the hero, he's the villain. It is really good. It should have been in my top 10. You're right. You should. I mean, purely Anthony Carrigan, who is the bald guy, he's just so good by himself that and Henry Winkler is so good. It's amazing that like Henry Winkler is doing the best acting he's ever done in his whole career, and he's like an old man, you know. So it's a really good show. I should have had it in my top 10. I totally forgot that Barry season 3 came out this year.
What about
sorry.
What about I swear it came out this year? No, it didn't. Oh, I'm wrong. I was about to say Succession.
Yeah,
that was last year.
Succession. I watched season 1. I got into season 2, and then I just kind of stopped. People keep telling me, "Oh no, you got to keep going," and I was like, it's just wasn't that much fun. Like at the point I was, it wasn't that much fun. So, but people tell me that it gets better, so I don't know.
Yellowstone is the one I was thinking of. Have you seen Yellowstone?
No.
That's the one people keep telling me to watch as well, Yellowstone, and I still haven't seen Euphoria. I don't think I ever will. I'm gonna be very honest with you, and I say this in regards to everything, even anime, because for those of you who don't know, I'm a weeb when it comes to anime. Yeah. I refuse to watch any anime, no matter how good it is, that takes place in a high school setting. Same with drama shows. Same with like live action shows. I fucking hate high school.
Yeah, I get it. It's just like, right, because it all gets into this whole like. Every high schooler is like doing heroin and fucking dads, right? Like, no, no, that's not happening. Like it's such an unrealistic like fantasy setting. You kind of realize as you get older, because having been through high school and then being older, like you realize that like, no, the high school kids aren't the ones like fucking and doing drugs. Like everybody else is the ones that are sex obsessed and then project that on the high school kids. So in a sense, like. It's kind of creepy that like the whole world thinks that high school is this land of sex and drugs when it's not, and that we somehow like fantasize and create all these like shows about it when that's just not the world. So
I want to say this started with American Pie, like this over-exaggeration of like high school being like this crazy place. But I don't think it did start with American Pie. I'm pretty sure it started with maybe Revenge of the Nerds, or maybe there was another show from like another movie from like the 80s.
Well, there was of course Porky's, which is
never heard
ridiculous.
of that. Never heard of Porky's.
Oh, you've never heard of Porky's?
No.
Oh, man, you gotta. So
1981 film. Wow.
Mm-hmm. So Porky's is it's kind of the classic high school sex comedy that everything else is based on. It's the thing where they cast like complete utter adults who are in like their late 20s to be playing like high school students who are all trying to get laid, and it takes place in the 50s. And the scene that everybody remembers is the boys find that they can go in between the walls and peek through these holes in the girls' showers and watch the girls shower. And that's kind of like the most famous scene of the movie, is them like sneaking in and watching the girls in the showers. Of course, like anybody that's actually gone to like middle school or high school who has showered knows that you like don't sit there for an hour at school like lathering up. You like run in, you rinse yourself off, and you get out because you've got freaking class. Like
Right.
or you want to get home. Like no one hangs out in the showers in high school. It's so stupid. Or if you know anything about like plumbing, there'd be never enough room for like someone to sneak between the walls in order to like look into a shower. But yeah, it just gets into that. But that's the yeah. Then there's Porky's 2 and there's Porky's 3. But yeah, there'd be no American Pie if there was no Porky's.
Interesting. I've never knew this thing existed. But like I said, I just can't stand like high school shit. It's just not my jam. It never has been. I fucking hate that stuff. I just whatever.
Yeah,
So,
or like the I call it like the Dawson's Creaking, where like 14-year-olds have like the deepest thoughts about life. And, and you're like, no. Have you talked to a 14-year-old? They're fucking boring. They've seen nothing. They've been nowhere. They've had no life experiences. They're 14. Like, give them like, and I understand there might be some 14-year-olds listening out there, but like, it's fine. You're 14. Okay. You've been nowhere. You've experienced nothing, Hardly any of you have like had anyone die in your life. You haven't had relationships. You haven't had your heart broken. You haven't like traveled the world. Like you've seen nothing. You've never had a job. Like you don't know how the world works, which is fine. You're 14, but don't have a show where these 14-year-olds are so fucking wise. Like it's just ridiculous.
And so yeah, that's our list for 2022. 2023 seems to be like slowing down maybe a little bit. In terms of Star Wars, we're getting Mando back coming back in March, and then the Ahsoka series, which I'll be there for. What is HBO coming out with in 2023? Dune, Sisterhood?
I'm trying to think. I can't. Doom. I know Doom Patrol is still continuing. A lot of the DC stuff. I think Peacemaker season 2. I think House of the Dragon. Well,
no,
we can talk about House of the Dragon and spin-offs, but George says a lot of them are stalled. But a lot of people don't know what's actually going on with House of the Dragon. Like they cancel all these shows, and like what are they replacing them with?
They don't need. We don't need all these. I've said this before. We don't need all these House of the Dragon shows or these Game of Thrones spin-offs. Maybe one or two others. That's about it. We don't need all these 9 other ones. Fucking E.T. Really. All you really need to really bring people back would be maybe Dunk and Egg and the Jon Snow show because people love Jon Snow.
They do.
But Preston, do you mind if we wrap it up here?
Sounds good.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. As always, we will see you all next year for some more podcasts, fun, some more shows. Let us know your top list or worst shows of 2022. And we'll see you all next time. Have a good one.